Today is October 3, 2025. Now, I wish more people ask what happens to a deportee after they're sent to a destination country, so I'll explain here, because I really want people to know. So, when a plane touches down in Vietnam, carrying deportees from the United States, the scene is very quiet, almost invisible to the larger public. These are people who may have lived most of their lives in the U.S., people who built families, held jobs, and put down roots. But when they step off that plane, they step into a country that may feel as foreign as any other place on earth, obviously. So what happens next? There's a blur of immigration questioning, temporary papers, and a sense of dislocation. Vietnam may issue them a 6-month temporary passport. Sometimes they're escorted back to a province that they've never ever seen in their lives. It's usually the province of their parents or grandparents. But beyond that bare minimum, there are no programs, no counselors, no government office waiting to provide orientation. There's absolutely no safety net in this entire situation. The official support ends almost as soon as the ink dries on the paperwork. And this is where grassroots solidarity tries to fill the gap. In Vietnam, one of the few community-led efforts is called the Ba Lo Project. Ba Lo means backpack. Volunteers meet deportees at the airport with nothing more than a smile, a ride, and a starter backpack filled with essentials. Inside might be clothes, hygiene items, a pair of shoes, even a phone to call family in the U.S. It's a very small gesture, but for someone arriving with almost nothing, it can mean the world. Ba Lo also helps with the next steps, navigating IDs, filling out forms, learning how to catch a bus or open a bank account in a society they don't fully understand. So let me paint a picture. Imagine a man named Qua, who comes to the U.S. at age 6 as a refugee. He grew up in California, went to public schools, and discovered he was gay as a teenager. In the U.S., he found his queer community, friends who affirmed him, bars, churches that welcomed him, and a chosen family that held him when his biological one struggled to accept. But a mistake, a conviction for a theft at a drugstore as a teen, put him in the sights of immigration enforcement. After months in detention, he found himself shackled onto a plane to a country he barely remembered. When Qua landed, he had no relatives waiting for him. No one knew his face. He didn't even know how to read the signs. Remember, he doesn't know Vietnamese. And layered on top of that dislocation was fear of being an openly gay man in a country where LGBTQ life is tolerated in some spaces, but stigmatized in many others. He wondered, who could he trust? Would an employer refuse to hire him if they guessed his sexuality? Would neighbors whisper and target him if he didn't marry a woman? The airport crowd moved around him like a tide, and he was drowning in silence. I know that feeling. Then 2 volunteers from Ba Lo waved a simple cardboard sign with his name on it. They handed him a backpack. Inside was a clean shirt, toothpaste, small guide to the city, and a cell phone with a SIM card. The phone worked. He could call his sister back in California. He could hear her voice and not feel completely erased. That backpack didn't solve everything, but it told him that someone cared enough to meet him at the gate. Still, Qua's journey would not be easy. He needed housing, but landlords wanted deposits he didn't have. He needed work, but his American accent and criminal record made employers suspicious. He wanted to find queer spaces, but he didn't know which places were safe, which gatherings might be raided, which friendships might endanger him. His vulnerability as a deportee compounded with his vulnerability as a gay man. And here's a deeper tragedy. Qua was lucky. He landed in a city where Ba Lo exists. Many do not. In countless deportation stories, there are no backpacks. There are no volunteers, no smiling faces. Just silence, bureaucracy, and the long walk out of an airport into a strange country with nothing but the clothes on your back. This is the hidden human cost of deportation. We hear political rhetoric in the U.S. about sending people back, as if the story ends when the plane door closes, but it does not. It begins again, often in hardship and in silence in countries that never prepared to receive them. Without programs, without structures, the responsibility falls on ordinary people, the grassroots, the volunteers, the strangers who turn up with backpacks. And when those grassroots groups aren't there, the void swallows lives. The tragedy is not just in the deportation itself. The tragedy is that when people land, they land into nothing. As a leader of the Presbyterian Church USA, I can say definitively a sentiment that Pope Leo recently shared. There is nothing Christian about what we're doing here with our undocumented immigrants. And ironically, the people doing this are doing it as self-proclaimed proud Christians.